All right, today we're talking about a tool that's really changing the game when it comes to making sense of massive, and I mean truly massive amounts of text. It's called DiscoverText, and it's all about finding that signal in the noise. So let's get into it.
So here's the big problem that pretty much every researcher and analyst is facing right now. We are absolutely swimming in a sea of unstructured data, social media posts, public comments, survey responses, you name it. The challenge isn't getting the data anymore. It's figuring out how to make sense of it all at scale without losing that critical human nuance.
And to give you a sense of what that scale really looks like, get a load of this number: 3.4 million. That's how many Twitter bios a single political historian manually coded for a research project. One person. It just perfectly shows the heroic, but let's be honest, completely overwhelming effort it takes to tackle these modern data sets by hand. And that kind of massive scale forces researchers into a classic dilemma. Do you go with the thoughtful, deep analysis of a human or the raw, incredible speed of a machine? You've really got two paths here, and both have some major trade-offs. On one hand, you have manual coding. It's rich, it gets context, it understands subtlety, but it is incredibly slow and just can't handle millions of documents. Then, on the other hand, you've got black box automation. It's lightning fast, sure, but it so often misses the context and really struggles to understand what things actually mean. And this is where you really see that turning point. Traditional tools, they're fantastic for those deep, qualitative dives on smaller datasets, no question. But they just weren't built for the huge scale or the kind of collaborative, cloud-based world that modern research lives in. It was super clear that a new, hybrid approach was needed. And that brings us right to the core idea behind DiscoverText. See, it's not just a piece of software, it's a whole new methodology. It was built from the ground up to act as that bridge, connecting the deep nuance of qualitative research with the scalable power of computer science. The origin story for this tool is pretty fascinating. It wasn't born in some Silicon Valley startup. It actually came out of academic research, funded by the National Science Foundation. Researchers at UMass Amherst and the University of Pittsburgh were trying to solve a real-world headache for the US government. How do you possibly sort through a flood of public comments on new regulations? That work led to an open-source tool called CAT, which eventually evolved into the cloud-based DiscoverText platform we have today, built to handle the text explosion from social media, and now, of course, generative AI. So how does it build that bridge? The answer is a concept called active learning. Now, the most important thing to get here is that this isn't about human or machine. It's about human and machine working together in this continuous reinforcing loop. The human provides the wisdom, the machine provides the scale, and they just keep making each other smarter. Let's walk through that loop really quickly. First, a human expert, someone who really knows the topic, codes a small sample of the text. Then, the machine studies those decisions and starts learning the patterns. Next, the machine takes what it's learned and makes its own predictions on the entire massive dataset. And finally, and this is the crucial part, humans come back in to review the machine's work, correcting any mistakes and confirming what it got right. All that feedback goes right back into the model, making it smarter and more accurate every single time. Okay, but for this whole system to actually work, for the machine to learn anything useful, that initial human input has to be absolutely rock solid. And this next part is all about how you build that gold standard for the machine to learn from. This quote just nails the core idea behind a really powerful, patented concept. It's a simple thought, but it's profound. In any group of people coding data, some are just going to be more accurate, more consistent, and more knowledgeable than others. It just makes sense, right? And this is the brilliant solution, a system called CoderRank. It's basically a way to identify and rank your most trustworthy human coders based on how they actually perform over time. So, by giving more weight to the decisions from these proven experts, the machine isn't just learning from random human input, it's learning from the best human input. And that makes the whole AI model exponentially more powerful and precise. So, once you've got this super reliable engine, what can you actually do with it? Well, let's take a look at the real-world impact and how this has totally unleashed new kinds of research. And we're not talking about just one niche field here. This hybrid approach has become absolutely essential across the academic map. From political scientists tracking online conversations, to public health officials monitoring disease outbreaks on social media, to communication scholars studying complex media stories. It's just incredibly versatile. Here's a look at the interface in action, analyzing tweets during the Anchorage earthquake. Think about it. In a crisis, a tool like this helps researchers sift through millions of posts to find that vital information, like damage reports, separating it from all the noise. This can directly help disaster response teams on the ground. This testimonial is just perfect because it highlights another huge strength: collaboration on a global scale. I mean, can you imagine trying to coordinate a project like this using spreadsheets? It'd be a nightmare. The cloud-native design lets teams spread all over the world, using different languages, work together on the exact same data set, making sure everyone is on the same page. And this growing adoption isn't just a hunch. The data shows a really clear trend. Back in 2015, there were just over 40 scholarly mentions of DiscoverText. Today, that number has rocketed to over 300 peer-reviewed publications. That's a huge jump and a powerful sign of the platform's credibility in the academic world. But hey, data's one thing. Let's hear directly from the people who are actually using the tool, the PhD students, the professors, the researchers on the front lines, about why it's been such a game changer for them. I love this quote because it gets right back to that bridge idea we were talking about. This PhD candidate is an expert in the humanities, right? Not necessarily in programming. This platform empowers these domain experts to use really advanced text analytics without having to become software engineers first. It truly democratizes access to these methods, letting them focus on the research, not the code. And this, right here, is the ultimate takeaway. For so many researchers, this kind of technology isn't just about making their work easier or faster. It's about fundamentally changing the scope of what's even possible. It opens the door to entirely new questions and new data sets that were just out of reach before, turning what seemed impossible into actual published research. So, where is all of this headed? Well, in this new age of generative AI, that collaboration between humans and machines is evolving yet again. The future isn't just about having humans label data for a machine anymore. New methods like NIDA are popping up where the researcher's role totally shifts. They become more like an intellectual leader, guiding a powerful AI partner to not just classify text, but to actually help build and interpret complex narratives and themes from the data. Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. The story of DiscoverText is really a 20-year journey to find better ways for humans and computers to understand text together. As we step into this wild new era of generative AI, maybe the real challenge isn't just building smarter machines, but designing systems and methods that truly augment, not replace, our own intellect. At the end of the day, it's about learning how to think together.